guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sophia Abdusalam. In my last video, I did a tutorial on how to draft this beautiful bustier blouse you are seeing right now. So this particular video is going to be about how to sew the pieces. So when I was drafting the pattern, I didn't think I want to do this scallop hemline you are seeing on screen right now. But after I put the piece together, I decided, oh, I don't want the hemline to look basic, so I decided to do this scallop hemline. So if this is your first time on this channel, do well to like and subscribe, please. I really appreciate it. And if you have someone you think would really need this video, please share with them. Okay guys, let's do this. Guys, before we start the sewing tutorial, I just want to explain some things to you. So first off, I would like to apologize to you guys regarding this tutorial. After I shot the video, after I made the dress and completed the whole thing, my phone developed some fault, so I had to repair the phone. In the process of repairing the phone, I lost some clip of this particular tutorial. So part of the clip is the one that has to do with the cutting of the fabric out and joining the front panel. So I'm just going to explain some things to you now before we continue the video from where I have the clip. I hope you will understand. So first off, these are the patterns there. As you can see, I've added my half-inch seam allowance all around. So I'm just going to start explaining from the front pattern. So as you can see, this is the center front. This is the center front and this is the side front. And this is the yoke for the front. So I've added half-inch seam allowance all around here. And I've added half-inch seam allowance all the way here. And I added half-inch seam allowance to this part too, on this down part of the yoke. So what I want to explain to you now is, when you are cutting the center front, you are going to cut it on fold. I hope you see, I labeled it, cut it on fold, so that the center front will not have any cut. You are going to cut this on fold. Then another thing is cutting the padding for the bustier. So I used wording. Yes, I used wording. This is the wording I used. So when you are cutting your wording, so for the center front, you are going to fold the wording like this. So you are going to cut the wording as well on fold. Cut it like this, then put this on it. Though I would advise you cut the wording before you do your seam allowance, because personally I don't like having my wording entering the seam allowance. No, I don't like it. So I usually cut the wording before I had the seam allowance, so which is better for me. So I don't know, however you prefer it. So, and your wording is going to stop on this line, on this underbust line. So you just place it like this. Make sure this edge is resting on this folded part like this. Then you are going to cut it all around. You are going to cut it all around like this. Then that is that for the center front. Usually I used to mark about 1/4 or 1 inch below this line, say 1/4 or half of an inch rather, below this line, so that it doesn't even enter the seam allowance at all. So that is how I do it. Then for the side front, like I told you, I cut it before I had the seam allowance. So I'm going to you're going to cut 2 for the side front as well. You know, by the time you cut, one on the right, one on the left. So after I place it like this, I just use my chalk to draw this curve on the wording so that I will know where to trace. Then from this place, from this bust point, I measure down to this bust divided by 4 points. I just measure what I have there. My own is, I think what I have is around 5 inches. So that is what I'm going to cut. This is 5 inches wide for this particular pattern. Then every other pattern you are making, you can adjust accordingly. Then attaching the wording to the fabric. So I don't know the kind of wording you have, but this wording for me, it was hard to gum to the fabric. It wasn't gumming easily. So I used my hemming gum. What I simply just do is, on the fabric, I put hemming gum like this. I put hemming gum like this. I just put it like this. I just put it like this, then place the wording on it, then iron it down. This way it was faster to gum, and it kind of give it a kind of structure in a way. Maybe it's my own imagination, but it works for me. So in case you have a wording that doesn't gum easily to your fabric, just use your hemming gum. Hemming gum saves lives, guys. So another thing I want to talk about on this front part is joining the center front to the side front. If you follow through with what I did while cutting the fabric, you will not have issue joining these sides together. No, you won't have issue. You won't have any excess, and the cup is going to come out fine. Yes. So if you follow through exactly, you are not going to have issue joining this center front to the side front. It is going to, everything is going to align. You won't have excess anywhere or anything. So that is it. So now let me discuss what I have on the back panel. So for the back pattern, as you can see, I've added my half-inch seam allowance all round as well. This is the zipper part. This is the zipper part, and this is, remember there was a dart. I created a dart on the back pattern. So this is, I've cut out the dart and added half-inch seam allowance on both sides like this. Can you see? Then I added half-inch seam allowance here on this upper part, so that by the time I join the yoke to the down to the bottom, I will have allowance on both sides to join it, and there won't be shortage anywhere. So remember I told you when I was creating this yoke that I connected to the bust point. My bust is divided by 4 points. So you can go down by at least half of an inch or even 1 inch, or go up here by 1 inch or half of an inch. Just don't connect into the bust divided by 4 points. So this is it here. And for the yoke on the neckline, I added about 1/4 of an inch, because I know I'm going to be turning the neck of the back with bias. So I needed that allowance to turn it, because by the time I join this and this like this, I don't want to have any shortage. I hope you can see. So this is going to be this one here is going to, I'm going to use it to turn the bias. So after I turn the bias, I will have equal measurements on the shoulder for the front and the back. I hope you understand. If I don't add this and I turn it, use bias to turn it, by the time I join it, see, I will have extra on the front. There will be shortage on the back. So that's why I added it. I hope you understand. So the next thing now is I'm going to show you the fabric I want to use. Then after that, the video that comes is going to be after I had joined the front.
So guys, this is the lace fabric I want to use, but I don't want to use the lace fabric like that. So I have crepe fabric that I'm going to use underneath. So I'm just going to use my hemming gum to gum the lace to the crepe, so that it will be easy for me when I'm cutting it out. And I have white lining that I'm going to use to line the blouse. So I'm just going to go and do all the necessary ironing and cutting, then I'm going to come back and show you what I have. So after joining the center front to the side front, this is what I have. As you can see, it is looking firm and nice even before I ironed it. So this is the inside. So now I'm just to iron it, I'm just going to open up the seam like this, then take it to my iron to press it down. Preferably use a steam iron. If you don't have a steam iron, you can just sprinkle some water on it, then use your hot iron to press it down. In order to iron the bust, you will need your bust arm in order to mold the cup properly. So the secret to a good cup is start from the ironing. So you need a bust arm. So when you use your bust arm, open up the seam, then use your steam iron to press it down. I have already joined the lining as well, so I'm going to do the same thing on the lining. I'm going to open up the seam, then use my steam iron to press it down so that it will be flat and nice. But before I iron the front panel, so I'm just going to join the back pieces as well. So I'm going to put the pieces together, then take it to the iron and iron alongside the front pattern, so I just don't go back and forth to the ironing table. So what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to arrange the pieces. This is why it is important to label your fabric, and so that you don't mix it up. The zipper part, the side seam and everything, up and down, I have labeled it to make it easier for me. And when you are arranging it, make sure the notched parts are aligned. Okay, make sure the notched parts are aligned so that you don't mix it up or have any imbalance on your dress when you are done. So I'm just going to do that now and just take it to the iron, and I mean to the machine, and put it together. So I'm done joining the back pieces together. This is what I have. So I'm just going to take this to the iron now, then open up the seam and press it down so that it will be flat and nice. So I'm just going to iron it together with the front panel, then come back and show you what I have. So I'm done ironing now. As you can see, the bust is looking firm and it is sitting pretty already. Like I told you before, guys, the secret to a good bustier crop, apart from your sewing, is your ironing. You need to be able to mold it well. That's why I said you should use your bust and mold it well. You can see the inside, it is looking flat and nice, so everything is in place. So iron it very well. So what I'm going to do now is to attach the yoke for the front. So in order to attach the yoke, I'm just going to measure about ½ inch away from the armhole. So that is where I'm going to be placing the yoke. The reason why I'm measuring ½ inch away is because from the work I've done previously, from experience, I've had to trim off a little bit away from that armhole part. But if you don't mind the stress, you can just join the armhole from the beginning of the yoke from the beginning of the armhole. Then when your client come for fitting and you see what it looks like, you can trim it off. You may not trim it off, but for me, I'm just trying to take the stress away from myself, the stress of having to lose it and join it back. So ½ inch is not too much. So I'm just thinking I will know how to manage myself, sure. So you may not do this. You can just attach it from the beginning. Then if you see what it looks like, your next client, you won't do, you just whatever works for you. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to go and attach this yoke now, then attach the yoke for the back as well before joining the lining. So let's do that now. So I'm done attaching the yoke. This is the front piece and this is the back piece here. So what I'm just going to do now is to attach the lining. So in order to attach the lining for the front, I'm going to take the yoke back like this, then put the lining on top of it. So make sure the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the fabric like this. Then when you are putting the lining, make sure the seam line on the lining align with the seam line on the fabric. Then use your pin to secure it like this so that it doesn't shift by the time you are sewing. Then the center front, make sure they align. When you find it like this, use your pin to secure it. Then I'm going to go ahead and sew that upper part with ½ inch. So I'm just going to sew it all the way down with ½ inch. So for the back piece, like I did for the front, I'm going to just take back the yoke like this, then place the lining on it. Make sure the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the fabric. So like this. Then make sure the seam line align like this. Then use your pin to secure it. Do the same thing for the second piece of the back. Then I'm just going to take all the 3 pieces to the machine to sew it down. Now I'm done joining the lining to the main fabric. As you can see, this is it here. So this is the front piece and these are the back pieces. So right now I'm just going to take my scissors and notch around the bust area like I'm going to be doing now. I hope you can see it. Then I'm going to take this to the machine to do a top stitch or under stitch, whichever you call it. So I'm just going to be stitching the lining to the seam allowance, or stitch the seam allowance to the lining rather. This is why I said you should not allow the wording to enter the seam allowance, because by the time you are doing this top stitch, after you do it, it is not going to relax well on that area. So the same thing for the back. I'm going to stitch the seam allowance to the lining. If you stick the seam allowance to the lining and it doesn't stay well, you can stitch to the back, to the main fabric, but whichever one you prefer, sha. Then I'm going to show you this part on the paper. Remember the part on the yoke, the armhole part on the yoke. I added seam allowance up to that point, which is going to be adding to my armhole depth. I hope you can see it. Yes, that part. So this other part, I'm not supposed to add seam allowance all the way to that area, so I'm just going to trim it off now. So if I don't trim it off, it is going to be reducing my armhole depth, so I have to trim it off. Now I am done with the under stitch. Then I'm just going to take it to the iron to press it down so that that place is going to be relaxed and flat. You need to do a serious ironing around there. You can use an hemming gum to hold it down if you have to. But before that, after doing all of this, I decided that the hemline is looking so basic and I don't like it. So I decided to do something about it. So I'm going to turn to the wrong side of this cloth now, with the right side facing each other. Then I'm going to pin them down together. Make sure you pin them down nicely and they are relaxed and balanced. I hope you understand. Just use your pin, use as much pin as possible to pin it down so that you don't have anything looking funny by the time you are done. So make sure you pin it down nicely. So I don't know if you can see the design I've created with my pencil. I've started it before, but I decided, okay, let me just put it on camera for you guys to see. So, but don't worry, I'll still show you guys how I achieve this mark you're seeing on this with this mark I did with pencil. I'm still going to show you. So let's just pin it down first. Now I'm done pinning the lining and the main fabric together. Let's create the design. So from the hemline, go up by 3 inches, then connect it with a straight line like this. So I don't want to use a chalk because the fabric is white and I feel like if I use other color it might stain it. So that's why I'm using pencil. I hope you can see it. So just bear with me. So the next thing now is from the hemline again, I'm going to go up by half of an inch. This half of an inch is going to serve as sewing allowance. You will understand by the time we create it. Just mark it and connect it with a straight line. So that the distance between that place and that place is going to be 2.5. So like this. Then remember, when I was drafting the pattern, I added 2 inches seam allowance. So I'm just going to mark it out from that 3 inches mark inward, 2 inches on both sides. Yes, 2 inches. Then I'm going to take the distance between the 2 inches mark. What I have there is 19. So that 19, I'm going to divide it into 4. By the time I divide it into 4, I have 4 3/4, I think. So I'm just going to divide that now. So 4 3/4. Then the next one is going to fall on the middle line, the midpoint of the blouse, like that. Then mark it out. So the next thing now is on this hem line, on the 1/2 inches mark, you are going to mark your seam allowance +1. So the seam allowance is 2 inches, then +1, making 3. So I'm going to mark that out on both sides. I hope you remember when I was drafting the pattern, the 1/2 inch, the allowance I added is 2 inches. The seam allowance I added is 2 inches. So mark it like this. So from the midpoint on that 1/2 inch mark, then I'm going to take 1 inch on both sides, like this. 1 inch on both sides. That is 2 inches altogether. Just like as if you are creating a dart. Yes, just take 1 inch, then connect 1 inch to the division on the 3 inches mark, like I'm doing in the video. I hope you understand it. Connect one side of the 1 inch to the division you did on the 3 inches line up. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to go to the side by 1 inch and connect to the 3 inches mark on the hem line. Like this. Yes, with a curve ruler. Yes. So that point looks straight. I'm just going to take the curvy part of my ruler to create like a curve. There is no measurement to this, so just create the curve however you like. The other side and create the same thing. So from that midpoint, from that division we did, go to the side by 1 inch, then connect it to the 3 inches mark on the 1/2 inch on the hem line. I hope my English is not too many. So use your curve ruler to smoothen out the straight line on that part, like this. So we are done. So I'm just going to follow this line and take it to the machine and follow the line and sew it all the way around before I trim it out. Sew it before you trim it. That is it. So I'm just going to repeat what I did on the front. The same thing I did on the front, I'm just going to repeat it on the back. The first thing I'm going to do now is to locate my zip allowance. So I'm just going to mark out my zip allowance now. So and go up from my up on my zip allowance by 3 inches. So I'm just trying to mark out my zip allowance clearly. So that is my 3 inches mark. Then on the side seam, I'm going to go up by 3 inches as well. Then after that, I'm going to go in by 2 inches seam allowance. So I'm just trying to mark out my 3 inches. I'm just trying not to do too much chalk on this fabric. So I'm going to get the midpoint of that zip from zip allowance down to the 2 inches mark and divide it by 2. Yes, I'm going to get the midpoint and divide it by 2 and mark it out. Then on that mark, I'm going to go up by 3 inches just to get the 3 inches point. Then I'm just going to go up by 1/2 inch just to create the seam allowance like I did for the front. Yes, 1/2 inch. Yeah. So on that seam allowance side, I'm going to do my seam allowance plus 1 inch, which is going to be 3 inches in total. Then from my zip allowance, I'm going to go in by 1 inch, then mark my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Yes, so I am now going to create the curve. In order to create the curve, the midpoint, I'm first of all going to create a straight line from that on that 3 inches line, like this. I hope you still remember how we got that point in the middle. We divided the point from the zip allowance to that side seam. Then I'm going to mark half inch on both sides of that point. So I'm now going to connect the 1 inch after the zip allowance into one of the half of an inch, like we did for the front. Remember when I was doing the front, I marked 1 inch, so that 1 inch is what I did half inch here. So I'm just going to connect it like this. I'm connecting this to the 3 inches mark on the side seam. So I'm just going to use the curvy part of my ruler to create a curve. So that is it. I hope you can see it. I'm so sorry guys, I had it this faint. I'm just trying not to use too much chalk on this fabric. So I'm just marking out the half inch seam allowance so I will know where I'm going to thread on when I'm sewing, like this. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did here on the second back piece rather. So first off, I will need to pin it down nicely. Yes, I'm going to pin it down nicely, and remember there is a yoke, so shift the yoke up so that it doesn't get into where you want to sew. So I'm just going to pin it down nicely, then create the design. So to create this, I'm first going to locate my zip allowance and mark it out. Then go up by 3 inches like I did. Yes, 3 inches, and mark out my zip allowance too. Then mark my 3 inches up all the way around like this. So I'm going to, then from that side I'm going to go in by 2 inches up and 3 inches down. I hope you remember. The 3 inches down is your seam allowance plus 1 inch. So I'm just going to get the midpoint between these 2 points now and mark. Then I'm going to mark half inch on both sides. Half inch on both sides just to get my 1 inch mark. Yes. Then from the zip allowance on the hemline, I'm going to go in by 1 inch. Yeah, so that the cuff doesn't start from the zip allowance exactly. So mark out your half inch seam allowance on the hemline too. Yes. So I'm just trying to create a straight line on my 3 inches mark. The 3 inches upward I marked. I'm just trying to create a straight line so I will know where to connect the cuff into. So I'm just going to, from the 1 inch after the zip allowance, I'm going to connect with a curve ruler into the 1 inch mark like this. So I'm just the same thing, I'm just going to connect with a curve ruler like this, then use the curvy part of my ruler to blend the straight part there. So I'm just going to take it to the machine and follow the line I created. Yes, I'm going to ensure you mark out your half of an inch seam allowance so that you know where you to thread when you are sewing. So like I said, I followed the line I created when I was sewing. So I sew it down, then trim off the excess. Then after that, I top stitch or do an understitch, whichever one you call it. I stitched the allowance to the lining. Then I took it to the iron to press it down. I must warn you guys, this is a serious ironing. You must iron it so that it will be flat and relaxed there. So you can use your hemming gun to hold it down so that that shape will come out well. And make sure you notch it. Yes, notch it before you do your top stitch. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark out my seam allowance and insert the zip. So I'm just going to mark it out, and I have already turned the neckline with bias, so it is already nice. So all I just need to do now is to insert the zip. So I'm just going to insert the zip and come back and show you what I have. So I'm done attaching the zip now. As you can see, the shape on the hemline come out nicely. So the next thing now is to join the shoulder. So before I join the shoulder, I will shape the skirt. I will shape the blouse so I can do it together. So in order to shape the blouse, I will need to measure around and compare my actual measurements with what I have on the fabric. So I'm just going to measure around now and see what I have. So the bust I'm working with is 35. So what I have here is 45 and half. What I have on the fabric is 45 and half. So I'm just going to minus 35 minus 45 from 45 and half. So which is going to give me 10 and half. So the 10 and half, I'm now going to divide it into 4, which is going to give me 2.625, which is 1 line after 2 and half. So I'm just going to mark it out now on the fabric. The part I'm marking is the side that will be facing me when I'm sewing. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So mark out what you have. Then I'm going to go to the under bust area and measure around. The under bust I'm working with is 27. So what I have here is 39 and half. So I'm going to minus 27 from 39 and half, which is going to give me 12 and half. So I will now divide 12 and half into 4, which will give me 3.125, which is 1 line after 3. So I'm just going to mark that out now. Next I'm going to mark what I have on the waist area. The waist I'm working with is 28, but what I have here is 36 and half. So I'm going to minus 28 from 36 and half, which is going to give me 8 and half. Then I'm going to divide that into 4, which is going to give me 2.125, which is 1 line after 2. So I'm just going to mark that as well, both on the front and the back piece. The next step is the hemline. So I'm just going to measure around, and you remember we used the hip measurement on the hemline. So the hip I'm working with is 41. So by the time I measure this, I have 45. So 45 minus 41 give me 4. 4 divided by 4 is going to be 1. So I'm just going to mark 1 on the hemline now, on both sides, on both front and back. Yes. So I'm just going to use my ruler to connect it like this. So connect it nicely. Then after that, you are going to bring the front and the back piece together and pin them nicely, right side facing each other. You'll be sewing on the wrong side. So nicely and pin them together. Then afterwards, I took it to the machine to sew on the line I created. So after I finished sewing, I asked the owner of the blouse to try it on. Actually, I didn't have anything to adjust on the blouse, even the armhole. I just had to trim the ½ inch I said I left out when I was joining the yoke. So there was nothing else. So the only thing I had to do again was to adjust the bust area, because she said she's not going to be wearing a bra with it. So I took it in a bit more so that the bust area is going to be firm. So I fixed the sleeve and asked her to try it on. So this is it you are seeing on screen right now. As you can see, she's not even wearing any bra and the fit is nice and perfect. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If there is someone you know that will really learn a thing or two from this video, please share with them. See you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.